Welcome to Washington East to West Sports. This is episode 21. I am Matt Beatty, joined alongside by Sean Beatty and Kevin Ardall as usual. And any thoughts you guys have on Washington sports, tweet us. I am at Beatty_Matt on Twitter. Sean is at Sean_Beatty. Kev is at Kev Blees with the first team Blees being a 3. Follow us on YouTube. Follow our page on the E-Line Network. Just, smash whatever subscribe button you can. Just find one to smash it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be for us. It could be for anybody. Just smash all the subscribe buttons, please. Please.
Do it.
But let's talk about some sports, and let's start in the National Football League. Now, we're not starting this conversation up with the Seahawks because they're not playing anymore. We're going to start with what happened actually on the field. I know, don't cry, Kevin. Okay.
It's fine.
August is just around the corner. So let's talk about the divisional round games. So in the NFC, the Packers were able to cruise past the Rams. I didn't actually watch the game. Would you guys say that? Is that fair?
Yeah.
Cruise past the Rams. Okay. The Bills were able to take down the Ravens on Saturday. And then on Sunday, the Chiefs were able to fend off the Browns. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to defeat the New Orleans Saints. So in the NFC Championship, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Lambeau Field on Sunday to take on the Green Bay Packers. And hold on, let me get a time for that game here while I tell you about the other matchup. It is going to be
at 1.
That one's at 1, all right. And then the Buffalo Bills traveling to take on the Kansas City Chiefs is going to be around 3:40 p.m. So these are two pretty good games on paper. So let's just kind of talk about what we saw this last weekend from these games. So we made predictions. I am going to humble brag here. I'm the only one who got them all right. But let's talk about what we saw on the field, everybody. So, Sean, what were some of your impressions of what you saw on the field this weekend in the NFL?
Kansas. I got to go to the AFC. AFC was by far super interesting with the two quarterbacks getting hurt and not finishing the game. That was kind of scary. I want to see how long Buffalo can really ride this team of destiny train because they played a game they probably should have lost. They came down to a wire, and honestly, I think if you look at the numbers, probably got outplayed by Baltimore except for one mistake, and then RG3 not playing the fourth quarter. And they might not have to play Mahomes next week either. So I don't know what Buffalo is doing with their rabbit's feet or whatever, but keep doing it because that's the team I'm pulling for. And yeah, Kansas City looked cruising, and then all of a sudden Cleveland had it, and Cleveland did Cleveland things and lost it because once Mahomes leaves, you have no excuse not to win that game. There's plenty of time. Tampa Bay, honestly, I think the Saints could have and should have easily won until Jared Cook fumbled. And that changed the whole game. And then Breeze decided to throw 2 more picks at the end of the game, and that was it. As for Green Bay and the Rams, I mean, Green Bay just dominated. I mean, Green Bay they outgained by 250 yards. It wasn't even as close as the score indicates. So, yeah. And all 6 teams that I said had a chance to go to the playoffs or win the Super Bowl at the start of the season are the only teams that are left anymore.
Kevin, what were your thoughts?
Well, I tweeted last week at Pete Carroll saying that if Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers dropped 30-plus points on this number 1 defense, the Rams, because Pete Carroll pretty much said it shouldn't be done and can't be done, that he should retire. And then I retweeted him after the game, and I was like, you should do it. Because your 1984 run-the-ball philosophy of keeping it close to win matchups is outdated and doesn't work.
Kevin, they put up 500 yards too. Like it wasn't just like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They were running the ball was terrible. Like they had so Aaron Jones had 1 run for 60 yards, and then it was 13 carries for 30 yards after that. So it's like the running game did nothing. They just threw the ball downfield all over him because that's what you should do. Like you have Aaron Rodgers, you have Devontae Adams, you have other weapons. Like Lazard got open a couple times, which is nice to see. Like that's what Seattle should have been. Well, it also helps that Aaron Rodgers didn't get sacked once and only had 1 quarterback hit against him. That kind of helps, when your team actually drafts you an O-line. It goes out and pays for O-line and stuff to protect your quarterback. It seems like a thing to do.
Aaron Donald not playing helped too.
Yeah.
I mean,
still, but
helps.
like, I mean, they still had a good pass rush even without Aaron
They were
Donald,
gonna get
but
slaughtered either way. Your point still
yeah,
stands. I was just pointing it out, but yeah.
yeah, it's just, man, Pete's just very outdated philosophy. Like, we kind of all saw it, and also I guarantee you, Green Bay fans are happy they moved off McCarthy and have gone on to this new coach who's now got him in the NFC Championship again within 2 years.
Back to back.
Back to back, yep. So it's like, maybe there's something to that. Moving off outdated coaches who just don't have it anymore. So okay, moving on. Let's see. Yeah, the Bills Browns matchup was intriguing. It's sad to see that Lamar got hurt. Kind of want to see what to do there. But even then, it kind of now begs the question, like, if they shut down the run against Lamar, like, how long do you, even though their offensive scheme is towards the run, like, at what point do you have to teach Lamar to learn how to win a game with his arm versus his legs? Not saying that he has to be Mahomes.
Can you teach him that?
Absolutely.
Based on who?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He can throw the ball. It's just a matter of helping him learn how to read defenses and actually make the throws that he needs to.
He can't throw it accurately. I mean, he never has.
You can teach it.
Based on who?
If you have proper based on McVay and the Rams, like Jared Goff's a complete pile of shit, and he turned him into the 8th best quarterback in 2018. Like, just because literally schemes help quarterbacks do things. Like, Jared Goff is a heaping pile of shit, and we've seen it. Like, there's a tweet I saw earlier that had Jared Goff's staff, apparently Sean didn't like that.
Sean was like, that's too much.
That takes terrible. But like, so Jared Goff's numbers over the last like 5 years have been like 24th, 21st, 8th, which is the year they went to the Super Bowl. And then it was somewhere in the 20s again. I think there was like an 18th, and then it was like 25th last year or something like that. So just the numbers were just complete garbage. Mm-hmm. And that's how you know that a scheme and a good coach can take a quarterback like Lamar and make it. I mean, now I'm saying too that Jared Goff is known to throw more, and he did it more in college versus his leagues because Jared Goff can't run. But Jared Goff can't really do anything, and they taught him how to kind of throw. So that's kind of where we're getting to there. Then going on, the Browns kind of disappointed me, unfortunately. I thought they were going to put up more points than they did, especially with Mahomes leaving. That was like kind of their perfect opportunity. And after Landry got that touchdown, I'm like, okay, here we go. They're going to start, getting things going. And then no, I was just like, oh, that was sad. I had more respect for you, Browns. Good season for them overall. So that was a nice season. I mean, you can't be disappointed. You got to the playoffs. You beat your nemesis pretty much in the AFC North in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you just slaughtered the crap out of them, kind of. You made a statement in the first quarter against them, and then you just kind of played, preventative, keep trying to score stuff, even though they were scoring on you. And then final game, Tampa Bay Saints. Kind of hurts when your quarterback can't throw for more than 20 yards. We kind of saw it with Peyton Manning last year, even though that defense was just good enough to carry him to a Super Bowl. But it really makes things hard when your quarterback can't really throw a ball past 20 yards and when you're down 10.
I got to say, Kevin, though, they should have probably won until that fumble, though.
They just had a lot of mistakes. They were the team with the more mistakes. Yeah,
they were doing very well until the third, and then just everything fell apart.
It's weird. It's like the momentum changed or something.
The momentum changed? Is that really what's happening?
Yeah, weird.
What caused the momentum to change? If
the fumble.
If the Saints, but the Saints had all the momentum. How did they lose all the momentum?
The fumble.
Oh, okay. So it didn't. Nothing. Anybody did anything. Okay. So it's just random, all chaos. Got it. Okay. Okay. Got it. Okay.
Keep going.
But so it's just, in my opinion, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers did less mistakes, and honestly, that's kind of how football works for the most part. Is like who makes more mistakes or who makes more plays. And Tampa Bay played solid football. Tom Brady just had another solid day. Defense was stout. They looked great. Because that's been there's been a little inconsistency with Tampa Bay's defense lately, and especially against the Saints too. Like, that's a really good defense, and even though the Saints offense is really good, you should be able to kind of not get your face punched off against them pretty much. So I'm excited to see next week's games.
Yeah, I did not get to see the Rams Packers. Not totally surprised with the result there. Aaron Rodgers is just feeling it this year. I did watch the Bills and the Ravens, and once Lamar went out, it's kind of like the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. Like once Lamar is out of that offense, like they're really not going to be able to do much. Like RG3,
he didn't play. It was RG3 got cut.
I know. Yeah. If Trace McSorley was there, or whoever came in outside of Lamar, like you knew it was basically over. So at that point, once they're down,
they were sloppy too. Like, what was it? Tucker missing 2 kicks for the first time ever. Like,
true. I mean, Justin Tucker is usually automatic, but that's.
I think they had a lot of pressure going on into them with the last 2 years, them losing out a game.
I mean, with those 2 kicks missed, the odds were still them we're gonna win this game until Lamar threw that pick 6, and like that changed. That was like the dagger. Because honestly, the QBR, Lamar Jackson had a better day than Josh Allen. Josh Allen was terrible, but that one play, that was it. I mean, Bill's offense only had 200 yards.
Yeah, I mean, once Lamar left the game, I pretty much figured it was over. Especially when I watched the first series with Huntley, and he has him on 4th down, that wide open pass down, basically down the seam, to Marquise Brown, and he just missed it. So after that, I was like, that's over. It's over. So I changed it to hockey at that point. But I saw some of the game with the Chiefs and the Browns, just some highlights because I don't have CBS, so I wasn't really able to watch it. But from what I heard, I would have assumed the same thing. Patrick Mahomes goes out, and then that's your chance to win the game.
And the Browns had all the momentum, and they won. Wait, they didn't win. Oh, God, you're right. You got it. You got it.
Thank you.
Yeah. The momentum helped the Browns win by so much.
And then the Bucks watched that game against the Saints. Not entirely surprising that way either. I figured that the Saints would come out strong, but Drew Brees in the playoffs just hasn't got it done. And again, it's not surprising that history has repeated itself with Drew Brees not getting it done and Brady able to get it done. So
I have a question about Drew Brees in this thing, because I heard on a like ESPN thing, they were talking about Drew Brees' legacy and not getting it done. My issue would be, so for years, correct me if I'm wrong, what you guys think, but my issue with Drew Brees was they were a great offense, horrible defense. He had to put up like 45 points a year. They finally get him a defense, and this is it's a message to Seahawks fans. You finally get Drew Brees a defense, but he's 38. He's not young Drew Brees anymore, and I think we're like, okay, now Drew Brees can do it, but he's not 32 Drew Brees. You basically wasted his prime with a terrible defense, asking him basically to single-handedly carry you to Super Bowls every year. And then like you then get him a defense, but he's a dinosaur now. He can barely throw it 20 yards. And you're like, well, Drew Brees didn't get done. I'm like, you wasted the good Drew Brees and got him a team when he's bad Drew Brees, when he's like a normal person now. I
don't necessarily agree with that, because why are you out there then if you can't throw it anymore? Like, why put your team at that position?
Taysom Hill, like what are they doing?
Jameis Winston, like why are you out there if you can't throw the ball 20 yards? Like
why
can't
throw the ball 20 yards technically.
You can technically do it.
And again, you can see with Peyton Manning, like they talked about this on a certain podcast I was listening to, but like you can, if you are functioning like Drew Brees, you can win the Super Bowl with a good defense like that. You just can't have the mistakes. And the Cook mistake, like, gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the chance to take the lead, and then Drew Brees can't come back because of how he plays now. And that's kind of what he's turned into. Plus, the last couple of years with a Hail Mary and a Phantom PI, like, he probably isn't 2 more Super Bowls. But now at this point at 42, he's not going to be 32-year-old Drew Brees. Like, he can't put up 45 a game because he can't throw that way anymore. So I think it's a little unfair to say Drew Brees is like.
I mean, but you have the guy on the other side who's older and beating him.
Yeah, I'm not saying like Tom Brady is the exception to the rule, but like most people age out, Matthew. Like 42, you age out usually. Like.
Yeah, usually, but he was out there playing. So if you're out there playing, there should be a reasonable expectation for you to make all the throws, regardless of age.
Not all the throws. No one can do that. But like, I get that you're saying like beyond 20 yards, but he's still effective enough. And I think he's still more effective than Jameis Winston.
I will say I would rather take Drew Brees with accuracy with only 20-yard throws or less than Brett Favre at 43, who can throw the ball for more than 20 yards, but it's a duck and it's inaccurate and it gets picked off and he's got 4 picks a game. Yeah. Like what are you going to take there? Like that's what's going to get you to a Super Bowl is precision within 20 yards. It's just players made mistakes. Kamara had one that he didn't look back.
And like Kevin said, Bucks are a good team. Like they're
a good team.
That's what the podcast was saying. Like Drew Brees, an old Drew Brees who can't throw 20 yards, will work in the regular season against the Falcons. But when you play these teams, your margin of error, like Kevin said, is really small, and they couldn't make up for it anymore.
And it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Yeah,
unless it's Pete Carroll and the Seahawks.
Mike Holmgren did it. He lost 3 times to the Rams one year. I remember that.
All right, so let's talk about the conference championships coming up on Sunday. So let's make some predictions here. We've got Tampa Bay going to Green Bay. We've got Buffalo going to Kansas City. 2 presumably cold games that will be happening on Sunday. So let's just make some predictions. I'll go ahead and start. So I picked Kansas City and Green Bay at the beginning, and I said it's the last run of Aaron Rodgers, and I still completely believe that. Now, if Patrick Mahomes isn't able to play, I would like to rescind my pick and pick the Bills, but without knowing his status at this moment in time, I'm going to assume that he will be cleared to play and that he will lead the Chiefs to victory. If he doesn't play, does anybody believe in Chad Henne? Probably just the people in the locker room.
No, they don't believe in him. Don't even lie. There's no way people in the locker room like Chad Henne is going to lead us to victory.
I mean,
he could, but I'm not saying that they have like faith in him. Let's just be honest here.
I mean, if you're playing for that team, you have to have faith in him at this point. You have no choice. So
don't lie to yourself.
Even his wife doesn't have faith in him.
Yeah. Chad Henne, I saw online, still updates his LinkedIn daily, or like updates it constantly. So he doesn't believe in himself.
Does he have his
LinkedIn.
Stuff?
He updates his LinkedIn to like get jobs. Like he doesn't think he's long for the NFL.
In terms of score, I think that the Green Bay Tampa Bay game will be the closer of the 2. So I'm going to take let's see. I'm going to go 28-24 Packers, and then assuming that Mahomes plays, I'm going to go 33-23 Chiefs. Sean.
All right. I'm going to, like Matthew, assume that Mahomes is going to play. That's how I'm going to do it. If he doesn't, I will pick the Bills. I am pulling for the Bills out of the 4 teams, but let's just be honest. Like I said before, I don't think I can imagine the luck continuing against the team they're going to play in the NFC and the NFC if they beat this team. I agree with Matthew. I think the NFC game is closer. I say both number 1 seeds still do it. Aaron Rodgers is just so hot right now. The only thing is, Kevin brings up a good point that defense for Green Bay is kind of a liability, and Tampa Bay is very balanced. But if Aaron Rodgers is going to be that hot, like it's really hard to beat him. So Rodgers and Mahomes. Do you want me to give individual score predictions?
Yeah, give us a score. Come on.
Again, Mahomes plays. Man, I don't know if this one's particularly close. But 21-35. It's a two-score win for Kansas City, and then Tampa Bay, Green Bay, 35. Oh no. 28-25, Green Bay.
By the way, it would be pretty crazy if the Bucks won and are playing a Super Bowl in their home stadium. That would be kind of interesting.
It would be crazy if the Bucks won, and after all the years of Tom Brady picking on the Bills, they have to face Tom Brady to get over that demon. Like they have to clear the Tom Brady hurdle in the playoffs. Or the Bills fans just might burn down the city of Buffalo if they lose again to Tom Brady. He leaves the conference and they still find a way to lose to Tom Brady.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, if Tom Brady beats the Bills in the Super Bowl, like Tom Brady might have to be escorted out by private security because like Bills fans are gonna try to murder him just because he has just screwed over their dynasty.
But well, first of all, it's going to be in Tampa, so he won't need to be escorted anywhere. They'll
don't don't doubt hashtag Bills Mafia. They will find
Bills,
a way.
yeah, Bills Mafia will travel for this. Like, they will be there. Like,
it's also warmer in
they
Florida,
go to the
so
Super
I
Bowl,
wouldn't be surprised either.
I will put a bet down that there will be more Bills fans and Tampa Bay fans in Tampa Bay as the Bills goes.
It's going to be a pretty corporate Super
Bills
Bowl.
Mafia
Yeah, it'll
will
probably
run
be fairly
that place.
corporate. Yeah.
Okay, prediction wise, it's pretty much the same on the AFC side. Yeah. It's weird. Do you think Josh Allen would be built for cold games because he plays in Buffalo? But
yeah, but he just hasn't. Yeah,
we just haven't really seen him with this efficiency that he's done this year in cold weather games.
And it didn't continue in the playoffs,
with the exception of last week, which it didn't look good. And the run game is not good. So I'm gonna say if Mahomes plays, it'd probably be, I would say like 30-20. I'll say 10-point spread.
2-score game like me, yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't play, I'll take the Bills by 6 points. I'll say 26-20.
You think Kenny puts up 20? Okay.
I think they'll probably mix
no, I could see it.
The Bills' problem is the run game, like kind of like what we were doing against them, because we had a really good day. And I think Edwards-Helaire mixed with Le'Veon Bell might give them a little bit of fits. They might do a couple of little pistol formations, two back, stuff, just to kind of mix it up, give Chad Henne some looks, get free up the box a little bit for the backs, just because you have two backs back there. If he's smart, I think that's what they should do. Kind of do it like the 49ers did in 2011. The NFC Championship is weird because last time they played, the Bucs just punched Aaron Rodgers on that offense in the mouth, and he didn't like it. He didn't like it one bit.
Didn't like it one bit.
Now they're in Lambeau, and it's cold.
Kind of turned into a different monster after that game, though.
Man, is Tom Brady's arthritis going to creep up in the cold? Like,
I mean, he played in Boston for 20 years.
I
think he'll be fine with the cold.
I think he will. He will.
Now, the rest of that team, who knows? But
I'm going to take the upset. I'm going to say Bucs are going to do it again. I think that defense is going to hold stout. I think they're going to punch Aaron Rodgers in the mouth. He's not going to like it.
Who likes getting punched in the mouth? You keep talking about though.
Well, I mean, Nate Diaz likes being punched in the mouth.
That's true. He's a weirdo.
What football player likes getting punched in the mouth?
But I don't know that I did hold up, but there was no Aaron Donald last week. I will say, I think actually, if it's repeat like last time, I don't think it'll be much of a blowout. I think it'll be a tense. I would say 32-23 Bucs.
It's a 3-point spread, so it's not a big margin right now.
Okay, and bonus question. Let's say either Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady wins the Super Bowl. Do you ride off into the sunset? I mean, if you're Tom Brady, that's just icing on the top of the cake. Like, let's walk out of here with 7 and call it a career. Like, I don't see why he would come back if he just won the title.
Do I think they will do or what they should do?
Well, what do you think they will do? I don't think either of them will retire, honestly.
I don't think either are retiring.
Yeah, but I would love to see one of them win and just walk off into the sunset.
You're absolutely right.
Beautiful.
If either wins, they should retire. I don't think either retires if they do win.
I mean, if you just win, might as well come back and see if you can repeat. But
like, if Brady would have just won the last one and then just retired a lifetime Patriot fan, if like that was like the goal, like, but he didn't do that. So I mean,
plus Rodgers is only like what 36, 37?
37. Yeah.
I like how we're talking like just 37. Like that's still super old for an NFL player.
It is, but in this day and age now, though.
I know. But like just a couple years ago, 37 as a quarterback, you're like a dinosaur. But now there's all these guys who are playing till their 40s.
I mean, Steve Young played till his late 30s. Brett Favre played into his 40s.
Yeah, but Brett Favre was terrible.
Brett
Josh
Favre
McCown
shouldn't have
played into his 40s, still playing if they let him.
No,
I mean,
but you're talking about quarterbacks, not like or not dudes that assistant coach high school JV or whatever he was doing.
God. So yeah, that was, and then I don't know what I would do. Well, we'll do Super Bowl predictions next week.
Yeah. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are going to talk some Seahawks football right after this break. And we are back here on Washington East to West Sports. Let's think about the upcoming conference championship matchup. Tweet at us. I am at _Matt. Sean is at Sean_Beatty. Kevin is at Kevin believes the first team believes me at 3. Just let us know what you think. Tell us your predictions. Is Mahomes going to play? It sounds like 50-50 at this point because
I like how there was tweets also saying that they should push back the AFC championships until Mahomes can play. I was like, no. I'm like, that's what you have a backup for.
I heard that was Colin
Eagles
Cowherd, and it's like, come on,
whining.
man.
Oh, yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
about Colin Cowherd?
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the Seahawks offensive coordinator opening. So this last week has been a bevy of news on who's been speaking with and talking about the position and how Russ wants input. So let's just start off with who has been talking with the Seahawks about the open position. Now, it was first reported that Anthony Lynn was one of the first people to talk to the Seahawks about the open offensive coordinator position. For those who may not know, he was recently let go as the Los Angeles Chargers head coach. And then the second reported person to be speaking with them about the job was Doug Peterson. He was recently the Eagles head coach. And then most recently, I think it was yesterday, there was a tweet where they had talked to Adam Gase about the potential position as well. And then there was a story, I believe, on Thursday or Friday about Russ wanting to have some input on the offensive coordinator search. So let's kind of break this into two separate topics here. So let's start with who we like in this position. Now, the 3 people they've talked about, we already mentioned here. So let's just say those are the only 3 people they are talking to. Now, let's just say for funsies.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the only
Okay.
those are the only 3 people they talk to.
Sorry.
Out of those 3 people, who would you like to see get that job? Now, I'm just going to start this off. Like Anthony Lynn, I feel like would be the best of those 3. I don't necessarily understand why the Chargers let him go with a rookie quarterback this year. I felt like
sucked.
Part of it is because the Chargers have been they've just been cursed with injuries over the last 6 years. It's nutty. Like I've never seen a team that's just like where so many starters just die every year.
Okay, anyways, Matthew, go justify yourself.
So I mean, the Chargers for the most part, when Phillip Rivers was there beforehand and Anthony Lynn was there, like their offense wasn't bad. The defense, obviously they weren't super good there, but they were banged up a lot, like Kevin said. And then this year coming in with a Tyrod Taylor and/or rookie quarterback, I don't necessarily feel like he deserved to be fired. But again, in the NFL, if you don't get the results in a quick amount of time, that's just the way it is. That's how the business works. So I think that Anthony Lynn would be the best fit. He was, airing out with Justin Herbert. I think that would please the pass-happy fans like you guys to just, air the ball out with Russ. Doug Peterson, I don't necessarily I'm not adamantly against Doug Peterson. I think he has some good offensive ideas. And since he wouldn't be choosing the quarterback, deciding between Wentz or Hurts or whatever, I think that all those decisions taken out of his hand makes him a little bit better of a possibility as the offensive coordinator. Now, would he bring the style that Pete wants, most likely, with a lot more run-pass balance? I think that's what he would be. And I think where Lynn would be a little bit more on the passing side of things. And then there's Adam Gase. I mean, I feel like Jamal Adams can just, walk up to Pete and be like, Pete, no. Why? I wanted to leave because of that guy. Like, why would you bring him here now? So I think it's very unlikely that Adam Gase is the offensive coordinator. And if if he did get hired as the offensive coordinator, I don't know what Seahawks Twitter would do.
Why
They
you
would
didn't interview him?
probably blow up Twitter. They didn't interview him. They just talked to him. So
But still, why? You're just gonna piss off Jamal Adams.
okay, so that would be who I would take of those three candidates. Evan, what do you think?
This podcast has kind of shown my pure hatred toward Pete Carroll.
Gosh, hatred, that's a strong word.
Yeah,
man.
Well, okay, pure dislike. We'll put it like that. Hate is a strong word.
It's pure though. It's pure.
I've said many times in the past that Pete should be fired for this and that. Like, Pete should be fired for even talking to Adam Gase. There is at no point whatsoever should he even consider Adam Gase as an option. The Jets were the worst offense in the NFL last year.
They were historically bad offense in general.
Yeah, like they were one of the worst offenses in NFL history. And you want to take the head coach of that offense and put him behind Russell. What? Like, is Pete trolling? Like, is he just like, I got 5 years left, I'm just going to burn this thing to the ground? Like, what? Like, for one, you're just not only pissing off Jamal, you're pissing off Russell. Like, that's just a slap in the face. It's like you got rid of Brian Schottenheimer to go get one of the worst offensive coaches ever. Like, so many players have left him and have gone on to do great things, like Tannehill and other people. Like, it shouldn't even have happened. Like, but it also contributes to what me and Sean and all of us have been talking about on this podcast is Pete's evaluation of talent. Like, not only for players, but also for coaching. Like, it's horrible. Like, Pete doesn't know what the heck he's doing, 12th man, and you guys don't see it. You're just like, oh, he's a giddy old 7-year-old man. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He thinks 1984 is going to get us back to the Super Bowl. Like, I literally saw a tweet the other day where it was showing the anniversary of the NFC championships and all the craziness and stuff like that. And I'm like, God, it'd be good to be in an NFC championship again. Too bad we haven't been there in 6 years with Russell Wilson in his prime and a great defense. Because Pete Carroll thinks running the ball is better than putting your Hall of Fame quarterback in the prime position. Anywho, moving on. I would probably say Anthony Lynn out of the three, just because what Doug Peterson did over this past year was just, especially like the whole benching at the end of the game. It's just like, you don't know what the heck you're doing. His drafting has been terrible for the Eagles over the past 2 or 3 years. They really haven't even drafted anything. So well, even though I don't think he would have much intake on that, like, because it's all Pete, but at the same time too, he's not going to contribute anything positive on that end. So I would probably say Anthony Lynn.
I mean, to Doug Pearson's credit, he made Nick Foles a Super Bowl champion. So, I mean, there's an offensive mind there.
Frank Wright made him a Super Bowl champion.
Well, he was there too. So,
well, yeah, Frank Wright was a play caller that year though. But
yeah.
I will. Oh my God, if I have to pick those three, okay. Adam Gase is gone. Like, we're not having. Kevin said it. We're not having a conversation.
Yeah.
Between the other two, I don't like Lynn in the fact that he runs too much and throws too many wide receiver screens. They're not as effective. You use those receivers and use your quarterback. So by default, I have to go Peterson. I would hate any of the three of them, to be honest, but I go Peterson simply because he's not the other two. Like, I guess that's the best way to put it. Do you want my who I want?
Yeah, I do want who you want. I was actually going to bring this up. Like, who do you guys want? I've heard you don't want. Who do you want? Actually,
there's a lot that goes into this. So there's a lot of, probably the best names for the job are names we don't even know. Like, Sean McVay was unknown. Like, a lot of these guys
unknown to the public.
Yeah, but again, like, to us,
I know,
we don't understand like
absolutely.
what's going on in the nuance with a lot of these teams. So we don't understand like these young or older guys, what they're doing with analytics or what they're doing in the room. So what I would say, the two guys I would want are Pep Hamilton, the Chargers guy, or I would like Mike. I can't know if I pronounce his name. Kafka, the passing coordinator and head guy of the Chiefs pass, or like he runs the in-game passing for the Kansas City Chiefs. because Bieniemy's not on the block anymore. So go with a guy who at least has been in the room with Andy Reid for 4 years and basically picks his brain. I know the Andy Reid tree hasn't been great, but I feel like at some point someone's got to learn something from a guy like that for so long that taking a chance on a guy like that and giving him a weapon like Russell Wilson is not, it can't hurt. So somebody like that, somebody like that. I don't want a coach who just got fired. Like,
I think those are good calls. I think it's hard to, it's hard to go to a current offensive coordinator at one of these teams who has a good offense and say, come to Seattle, unless you have something that absolutely draws you to Seattle.
No, I'm not.
I'm
not saying it could, but that's what I would want.
Yeah. But I'm saying those are two likely guys. Yeah, those are two likely guys because they're looking to move up, and this is a step up for both of them, I would believe.
Now, I would love for them to be given really control of it, but as Kevin talked about, this is Pete's overall philosophy, and they really want to be allowed to do it. Hence why Shoddy was fired. Philosophical differences. I wanted to running to run too much, all that stuff. But I think those two guys can bring like kind of a fresh take on it. They're both, I'm not sure how young Pep Hamilton is, honestly, though. I know Mike is pretty young. So, yeah, we'll see. And he was a recent quarterback as of 2015, so in the NFL. So I kind of like those two.
Kevin, do you have any candidates in mind that you would like to see take the job?
Sean McVay.
Just leave your head coach position. Come. If you can't beat him, bring him in.
Steal him somehow.
Yeah, you don't join him. You just bring him in. I don't know if Kafka would take it just because Bahimi will probably eventually go, if not yet this year, next year to someplace, and then he'll probably get the offensive coordinator job in Kansas City, where you have a Patrick Mahomes for the next God knows.
But you could get a OC job right now, like if you're Mike.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's kind of like, do you want? But at the same time, you're also going to have. You're not going to be held down by Pete Carroll.
Andy Reid will let you do your thing. Yeah, I get you.
Looking around the league, I would kind of want to see like. What's his face still the offensive coordinator for Dallas?
Is who?
The quarterback out of boys. Yeah, Kellen Moore.
Yes.
He is, yeah.
Go steal him.
Him and the Bills guy. Him and the Bills offensive coordinator.
Yeah, that'd be interesting too.
Would be
or maybe whoever the Bills quarterback coach is that just turned freaking.
I think a lot of it. So I'm gonna kind of get on a tangent here. So a lot of what they did is kind of like. So there's a ranking called the Dakota ranking. It's completion percentage above expected. Mahomes doesn't grade very well in this rating because it's giving you a lot of credit for completing difficult passes. Mahomes doesn't grade very well because a lot of his passes are good. They're well schemed. And that's what happened with Josh Allen this year was they were well schemed to be not the most difficult passes. And I think it's a combo, Kevin. It might be the coordinator. It might be the quarterback head coach. Why his accuracy went up? Because the throws he was asked to with the receivers were easier throws versus like, here's a one-on-one 40-yard deep ball, like, which is not like historically a great completion percentage. It's like a little bit smarter game plan, I think. So I think that's kind of why he improved.
I would say I want somebody that the main thing with Russell, with the whole let Russell cook thing, and this is what I was kind of going on a tangent earlier in the season, is that after like the 2016 season, we never really let him tap into that potential. And he never really had somebody to groom him into how to make those situations where it comes down to a game like that. And he's throwing it like 40 to 50 times a game to where he's making the smart choices of what to do. Like Breeze had a Sean Payton and, we have Andy Reid and Bahimi down there in, Kansas City. Like, I'm not trying to take a dig at Bevel or Schottenheimer because honestly, we don't really know how much of it was them versus like Pete putting
they were rumored to both leave because of philosophical differences. Like they wanted to do more stuff. And
I want somebody that can teach Russell to how to do that. But the thing is, I don't know if Pete will let it. So it's kind of like, even if we bring in a guy to do that, will Pete take off the training wheels and let Russell be Russell? Like, because honestly, what we saw last year, and with the defense too, because people were like, well, it puts your defense in bad position. We had a bunch of injuries too, and you had a secondary that was coming together, learning. You know, they didn't have chemistry with each other. So going into next year, depending on free agents, which we're going to get to in a little bit, it should be a little bit more solidified. I don't think it's nowhere near what people think it is right now, because everybody's like, we're pretty dang decent, like what we saw at the end of the year. I'm like, no, we gave up 23 points to a quarterback with no thumb. Sorry, I was trying to go on a tangent again. So just somebody that could teach Russell how to take over a game and shift out of that game manager role to do more stuff at the line. Like he does a little hut thing, like a hut to like try to throw people off. But I want to see more Peyton Manning, like moving defenses around with with body language and stuff like that.
I don't think it's been allowed in the offense. I think that's the problem. We don't know if Russell could do it because I don't think he's allowed to do that stuff.
I want to. That would be my. I can't really put a name behind it, but that's what I would want to see in there.
Yeah.
But I don't think it will happen because Pete won't let go.
So if I were to pick an offensive coordinator and I wanted to please the pass happy fan base as well as keep the running game involved, I would probably try and hire a former quarterback. And so the first name that pops to mind is Matt Hasselbeck. Like I know he's at ESPN right now, but there's some guys who have been pulled back into the league as coordinators or head coaches. And if he is interested in an offensive coordinator position, this would make the most sense. Now, do I think it's likely? Absolutely not. But if you want a true, quarterback to run the offense and have the passing schemes and have the run game to go along with it, I think hiring a former quarterback, like I see with Byron Leftwich on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I think hiring a guy who has the experience of being a quarterback, but also has the mental X's and O's in order to, scheme up plays and drop stuff for a guy who has a skill set that they may not have had. Because Matt Hasselbeck, he didn't have the running skill set, but I think given an offense with Russell, I think he would be able to incorporate Russ's running ability. So I wouldn't totally mind that sort of thing. But, I thought Jim Zorn, but I just looked up. He's 67. I think that's a little bit off now. So,
you need to have an analytics guy too. If Matt Hasselbeck's fine, if he understands what modern numbers are, though, like we can't go backwards. So you have to embrace this. Like it's how it's going.
I don't think that necessarily needs to be. I think they can get someone to go along with him to tell him those sorts.
They
of things.
have that, and Pete Carroll chooses to trust his gut more than that. You can't ignore that. Like
let's help America out. Let's help America out. Okay, we're going to help America out, and we're going to bring in Troy Aikman.
Please don't. Please don't. I don't want any part of that.
I don't want Troy Aikman. No.
Just because
I don't like watching him. You can leave him in the booth. I don't want him.
Exactly, because no one wants to see him in the booth.
But we're going to have to deal with him. They're going to show the camera every time he's on Fox. They're like, look at my old guy. But like problem with these old quarterbacks like that, Matthew, is if he is – I don't know how he is calling a play, but they really tend to be run heavy, and it's just like even more so. And he might get along with Pete, but that's not going to help us win in January.
I mean, I'm just throwing out an offensive mind who has the passing fortitude, who's not run first necessarily. You said a name there
that I think in a couple of years, Byron Leftwich might need to be taken seriously. But I don't think right now he's ready. But in a couple of years, people keep saying very good things about Byron Leftwich.
I mean, if Kellen Moore isn't super tied to Dallas, like that, I like what Kevin said. Like he does have Northwest roots, so it does make sense. Now, will it draw him away? I don't think so. Yeah,
he did just sign a deal in Dallas, and he could have had a head coaching job at his alma mater and chose to stay in Dallas, which I think. Little tangent. Mike McCarthy's on a hot seat. One more year, done, and I think he signed a 4-year deal. I think for 2 reasons. He thinks he was promised Dak was going to stay because there's no way he's signing that deal if Andy Dalton's the quarterback. And 2, if he struggles, that's his job, no one else's job, because he's not signing a 4-year deal to then get fired in a year. So I think he's set in Dallas. But I do agree, if it was a possibility, go with Kellen Moore. But
I mean, give him a call. You talk to Adam Gase. There's no harm to talk to anybody here.
You could,
so
but could Dallas, since he's under contract, can you call him without asking Cowboys? I don't know how that works.
I mean, I don't know how that works either, but I mean,
I think you have to. I think you have to okay it with people under contract. But yeah,
yeah. I mean, if there is an avenue to explore that, I don't see why they wouldn't. But at the same time, I don't think it's realistic at this point.
Yeah.
All right, we're winding down here. So I do want to bring up really quick, Russ did mention that he wants to stay in the offensive coordinator selection. I think we all think this is a good idea, but when it really comes down to it, what do you think Russ is really talking to? Because clearly, like we've all said, Pete, holds the reins of this. But if you want to keep your quarterback happy and if you want to keep your job, because I think Pete and Russ are tied at this point. So what is Pete saying? What is Russ saying to Pete at this point in order to keep him happy? Because, like Sean said, Russ has the ability to walk. And, I don't want to go into Pete's mind here, but if I'm Pete, I don't want to lose the one thing that's basically keeping me here in Seattle. So what should Russ be telling Pete in order to kind of smooth things out and just let it, because, he can't just say, let's pass more, because that clearly hasn't worked, because philosophical differences will get you out of town. So if you're Russ, what do you tell Pete? Do you basically tell Pete, look, we need to change the offense or I'm leaving? Or do you say, let's both go together on this. Let's get a coordinator we both want so we can both work with him. We can both have the playbooks that we want when it matters during the season. Like, Sean, what do you think is going on in that meeting? How much is John Schneider being involved in this? Like, what is Russ saying here in order to keep him in Seattle? Because that's essentially what we're doing here is keeping Russ in Seattle.
The rumors were that was already said by Russell this offseason was, you let me cook or I'm gone. I think it's more the same. They understand that things didn't work at the end of the year last year. Now the rumor was Pete Carroll took over helping with the offense and then the offense got worse, but I don't think it was because Pete took over. I think it was because there's too many cooks in the kitchen. It wasn't working. It was all a cluster. Russ wants to throw, Pete wants to run. There's going to be differences between the two. They have to get a medium, meet in the middle. And this coordinator is, I think what Russ wants is not to overcorrect the problem. I don't think the problem was because they threw. And I think Russ wants to have Pete know that. Like, we can't go back to what we were. We have to keep going this direction. You have to look at the way the football is going. But he doesn't think he's going to change his philosophy. So he has to meet and find a guy that fits both of them and appeases at least enough of both of them. Because there won't be a perfect fit, I don't think, for that. But at least enough that they both will sign off. Because Pete loves Schottenheimer. Like, it's pretty obvious. He said that as much, and he was not happy they let him go. He said that. He's like, should they let him go? He's, quote, no. Yeah. So, Russell was pissed. I don't think he was shy about that. And I think Pete understands that and needs to meet with his quarterback, or his quarterback will be Deshaun Watson and not publicly asked to leave. I don't know if that's in Russell's personality, but he will not be very happy. And I think that's what he has to do. And I assume, like you also said, John Schneider has to be involved as well, since he's there for 5 years. But again, Pete ultimately has a say over the other two. So,
Kevin?
Another thing too that also has to go into it, because I love Russell to death.
It is in your Twitter name, 3Believe.
Yes, I do believe. Like, the believe part is not in the Seahawks. The believe part is in Russell. I believe in Russell. I believe he's really good. But at the same time, when he's going further too, this offensive coordinator and Pete need to start investing in that O-line. Like, we saw it toward the end of the year, and we're in a division with murderer's row of D-line. Like, and it's only going to get worse. I think Arizona's also going to probably tack onto it, especially after they lost Chandler Jones this season. I think they're going to try to get him some help over there, that way, just in case Chandler Jones goes down.
But the coordinator can't fix that, Kevin. That's more Schneider.
Well, yeah, I'm saying that a part of it in the whole coordinator deal too is that they need to draft and free agents more toward the offense.
Yeah.
To where it's because literally all we've been doing is just defense. That's pretty much the only thing we haven't, other than Brown, that we traded for, and that's because it was
Parkinson, dude, your boy.
I know. But and DK, I get the DK was a good steal for the second round. But there's like it all starts with O line. And other than Dwayne Brown, you really haven't addressed it. You went and got a running guard, which he was great in the run game, but he was terrible in the pass game. And that needs to change. Like if DB like a Solari can't fix that, then you gotta get rid of Solari too and find an offensive line coach that can like make that work. Like stop drafting guards and tackles that are better at run game versus pass blocking. Get pass blocking linemen. Like that's what you need to do. Like because eventually, like you can teach how to run block a little. I mean, you can technically teach both, but like I'd rather have to teach him how to run the ball when you got a guy like Chris Carson, even though he's gone after this year. But even though, from what I've seen in the tape too, if he can stay healthy, Rashad Penny could be shifty and get past a terrible O line as well. We just haven't seen enough sample size in Seattle for it to happen. But I from what his college tape has shown, because he didn't really have a great O line in San Diego State, but he can do that. Now that was college versus NFL, so that's a whole other thing too. But my opinion, if the whole Deshaun Watson thing goes, like if he gets traded to another team, I could see Russell saying, "Hey, I wanna go to another team." Now, I know it's gonna piss off like Seahawks fans are gonna be like, "Oh my God, Russell Wilson was lying the whole time. He's anti-Seattle. Blah 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 blah. He was never go Hawks or anything like that." It's like no, he is sick and tired of his career being wasted. Like period. And he should be. And every like 12th man should be pissed too. Like you've been wasting a Hall of Fame quarterback's career because you want to run the ball. Like you should be, as Sean has mentioned on his Twitter, you should be dominating people who are 500 or below, and you should be in good games with playoff teams. Like you shouldn't be getting beat, like barely beating or getting beat by a quarterback with no thumb. You should
or
be able
McCoy, the Giants.
yeah, you should be able to keep up with an Aaron Rodgers. You should be able to keep up with a Drew Brees. You should be able to keep up with a Tom Brady, a Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. Like the whole Bills game, like we should have been able to, tit for tat, like going back and forth. It should have been like 44-40, like type of deal versus like a 12 to 15-point game because you have the ability with Russell and those weapons to do that. Now DK still has to groom and stuff like that, and I think you need to find a third weapon going forward. But it just, I think that's going to be all that's kind of tied into it because he's tired of it. He knows that he can't keep running forever. I mean, he's going to still scramble and do things like that because he keeps himself in good shape like that. But he shouldn't have to. Like when he's got a cannon and you got weapons like Tyler and DK, you shouldn't have to do that type of stuff. You should be able to have a clean pocket for like 60 to 70% plus the time for 5 seconds or more to be able to go through his progressions and not just stare down DK and pray to God he gets open.
I think some of that is on like what you're saying with the coordinator is the game plan. Like the example I always give is the last season Bevel was there with Cable and they played week 1 against the Packers. We all knew our O-line was super weak, and the Packers did one thing really well, and was rush the passer. And we called a bunch of 7-step drops. It did not work. Like, you need to understand with this coordinator, you need to understand what you do well and what you do bad and formulate a game plan around those things. And you can use even a mediocre O-line and make them look really good if you use them correctly, like a short pass or some screens here to take some pressure off. Or if Aaron Donald keeps coming up, throw a screen his way and then make him like kind of be on the back a little bit, but you don't have to run everything a 7-step drop and throw it super deep, which was, I think, what they got into, like what Kevin's saying, like the coordinator can help make up for like a little bit of an O-line issue if you're calling a right game and scheme, or they keep getting them after your quarterback, run a couple plays, run a draw here and there, or do something to like
action.
help these guys. But like, it just became stagnant at a point this year where it became very frustrating to watch, and they didn't adapt at all.
Like the fact that Pete Carroll in the Pete Carroll show at the end, he was like, "Yeah, we didn't adjust well to cover 2, and we should just run it more." It's like what the heck? I'm like, you're a defensive guru. Like you should know how to beat cover two. Like, I know you're not offense, but like if you're like a defensive guru who knows the ins and outs of what cover two, cover three, and like how to manipulate and stuff like that, you should also know what the other team is game planning against your cover two and use that to apply to your offensive plan, like of how you would attack cover two. And your situation is just, oh, it makes the box lighter, we should run the ball. I'm like, no, like that's not the answer. I'm like, it's the answer some of the time. Yeah, you can run the ball. Like,
I mean, if they're gonna have 4 in the box, 4 or 5
yeah,
in the box, you should
like
hand the ball to Chris Carson.
we've mentioned, if they give it to you, you can do that. But there's also other routes too that there's short to intermediate routes that you can run, but you're literally just having DK and Tyler do go routes, with Tyler doing a seam after 10 yards, going through middle where DK's just on a go. And you're like, oh, they're both covered, and there's like nobody in the middle other than like a back going out into the flat. But at that time, like Russell's still looking down his first progression, and then he gets sacked. It's like, well, yeah, I'm like, you should have intermediate routes, third receiver, or tight end going up the middle, multiple people going through the middle for 10 yards. Just seems like a thing.
Yeah, I would probably agree with Sean. Like, these two need to be in the room, and they both need to sign off on who the coordinator is. And, Russ has been with the organization for, the last decade now. So he has certainly earned this role of having a say in who the offensive coordinator is. And so if if Pete hires someone and we hear Russ, at some point say during a radio show, like he didn't have a say, I think that would be a bad warning sign. So I think they will allow Russ to have a say in it and have him sign off on it. And I think Russ, like Sean said, understands that the run game is not going to go anywhere necessarily. It's got to be some sort of balance for them. Now, obviously, you can't just keep doing the run pass. You've got to mix it up a little bit and do some different things with the offense. But I think at the core of it, when you look at this offense on paper, what is coming back, there is enough here to have an offense that should be one of the best in the league and should put up a lot of points, like we saw in the beginning of the season. So at this point, I think for the most part, there are weapons there. Like Kevin obviously said, we could use a third weapon. Offensive line could always improve, stuff like that. But what is currently here and under contract is enough to get you to a deep playoff run. So they just need to keep what they have here, improve it, and have a coordinator understand what pieces are there and how to utilize them. So I think overall that there needs to be a balance with both Pete and with Russ. In terms of Russ calling audibles at the line, I think he does do that right now. I don't see any quarterback in the league who doesn't really have that power at this point. But I think that Russ might try and have a coordinator who allows him to have a couple plays after he's read a defense. So something like that, to where he's not necessarily getting the play fed to his ear. He's getting a few plays fed based on what he sees on the defense. So I think that's something that's be incorporated as well. So let us know what you think of the offensive coordinator position. Go ahead and tweet at us. I'm at Bailey_Match. Sean's at Sean_Beatty. Kevin's at Kev Believes. Gentlemen, we are running low on time. We're almost at an hour here, but we need to talk about another sport because Kevin's got his Mariners hat on. Let's talk about some Mariners here. So I do want to bring up, there was a story yesterday of the Mariners avoiding arbitration with J.P. Crawford, Tom Murphy, and Rafael Montero. So Crawford's deal is $2.5 million. They were able to get this done and avoid arbitration. And then Murphy also was able to avoid arbitration, as well as Montero, a 30-year-old right-handed pitcher. So I just want to ask you guys what you think of this and how significant it is. When I covered the Mariners back in 2019, when I was at the game, it seemed like J.P. Crawford was a younger piece, and he's only 26 right now, that the Mariners are hoping to at least keep him involved. And, unless he gets his numbers up, he's not going to be a big money guy, so it's not going to take a huge salary cap. So as long as you could keep him improving throughout his time in Seattle, I think he'll be a piece that can build around the bigger pieces that you're having coming in later on. So I like having J.P. Crawford there. I like them avoiding arbitration. Get me on this one-year deal, and then if it doesn't work out, then you could just kind of let him go. I also have been hearing a lot of stuff. Well, actually, let's just start about that. So what do you guys think of those moves? Kevin, what did you think of those?
Yeah, I mean, you bring back Tom Murphy. He's got the big power bat and solid at catcher behind the plate. I mean, Cal Raleigh going to be your guy down the road. But it doesn't hurt to have. I mean, Cal Raleig's not there now. I mean, he could be called up probably next year. But still, it gives you some offensive pop for this year, which is nice. Crawford, little inconsistency at the plate, pretty solid on defense. Has had nutty throws. I mean, that one throw is still just honestly turns me on every time I see it. Like we just call it the throw, the one where he just like turns, like does like a ninja jujitsu thing with his body and just throws it to first. He's just got to be a little bit more consistent with the bat. He's just had hots and lows, highs and lows, hots and lows, hots and colds. You know what I'm saying. Just figure out what works for him, so to speak. Because like honestly, I don't think he's really going to be a power guy. Like just get it, like teach him how to get more consistent hits and use his speed. Like at Mariners' last 2 years have pretty much run the league for stolen bases. So like learn how to get him on base more, even if it doesn't, involve his, like if he needs to take walks, let him take walks. Like teach him more patience at the plate and swing at better pitches and learn, hopefully they can get a little bit more consistency out of his bat or get him on base more with walks and stuff. Montero, bullpen guy, we'll see what we got with him. I don't know. It's not too much money, so I don't know if he'll be here once this club is at its peak in 2 to 3 years or starting to get towards its peak. But yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, JP Crawford, actually a pretty solid player. Yeah, his offensive numbers are not great. They're slightly below average, but not crazy. WRC plus of 94 for those that don't know. The average is 100. So just slightly below. He was a pretty good 1.1 WAR player in only 53 games because his defense was so good.
Yeah.
He is still figuring out that bat. If the bat can progress just a little bit more, totally viable MLB starter. And I am totally happy with him with what he is. If he just gets on base just a little bit more, it'd be great. Tom Murphy, Kevin says Cal Raleigh is the future, and I might agree, but if Tom Murphy plays like he did in 2019, Cal Raleigh will not be playing for a while because Tom Murphy was a freaking beast.
Yeah, he was.
So
he is jacked as crap. Like that's a linebacker and a catcher.
Yeah, that dude was just hitting bombs, was good defensively too. Like, so if and he missed all of last year due to injury, but like he's a guy, if nothing else, he's played. So when Cal Raleigh, like Kevin says, does come up, it's a guy that's caught some games in the majors that can help him. They also have Luis Torrens, who's back there too. It'll probably be Torrens and Murphy, and I hope Murphy gets the start this year and gets more at bats just simply because he can hit better than Luis can. And then the last guy, Montero, he's basically a nobody. Kevin's right. He's not going to happen. What he did was he got a couple saves at the end of last year for the Rangers because their guy was hurt and ineffective. What I think is the best case scenario for him is to do good this year and then get traded at the All-Star break for because he'll probably be the closer, get traded for something else. All the money's kind of whatever. Nothing's really a lot, so it doesn't matter. And Matthew, actually, Crawford is on the Mariners for 5 more years or 4 more years. So arbitration just basically bought out 1 year of free agency from him. That's all that means. So he's not a free agent until 2025.
I mean, either way, I like having him.
Oh no,
he's in the system and develop.
He's not. No, yeah, he has the opportunity. I mean, he was a high pick. He has obviously the talent. I think. Do I think he'll get to where I want him to? Maybe not, but he has improved the last 3 years. So I say you got to keep running him out there. His defense was not very good before, and it really took a jump. So whatever they did, their infield guy Woodward, I said it right the first time. He did wonders. I mean, I don't know if it continues, but defense is one of those things that doesn't really streak. So like when people talk about hitting in a short season, it could be really streaky or whatever. Defense doesn't really do that. So, I mean, he played well in a shortened season, so I can't imagine why it wouldn't. So just walk a little bit more, Carl Crawford, hit a little bit more power. That's about it.
Also, I was going to say too, if Tom Murphy goes back to what he did 2 years ago
Oh
too,
gosh.
like you could always, and if Cal Raleigh still kind of pans out, you're also in a good situation to where you could probably trade off Cal Raleigh to go get pieces or Tom Murphy.
Or Tom Murphy, because Tom Murphy isn't a free. He's got 3 years left on his deal
Yeah.
too. So like they did with they did with
could,
Nola.
yeah,
Like he's,
you could go get some good serious pieces to fill out this roster to make a World Series run.
I mean, they traded Nola for Trammell, a top 100 guy. So
Yeah. So
you get another catcher.
that would be nice. And even if like for 1 year, if we had both of them, like for even like half a season, like that's both your catchers are like just beasts. Like
Yeah.
that's a plus. Like so yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Hopefully the injury hasn't really taken anything out of his game and he comes back and just starts popping bombs and playing good defensive pitches.
All right, and I want to get out on one last baseball question. Maybe not Mariners in particular, but it does apply to the Mariners. So we saw last year with the pandemic and how sports had to go to a bubble. Baseball played a shortened season, not in a bubble, and then went to the bubble for the playoffs. The NFL has gone no bubble, had some issues, had some bumps, but has gotten through the season mostly unscathed. So I do want to ask you guys, based on where the pandemic is right now and everything that's going on in the world and the country, for that matter, do you think they will play a full 162 game season? And if you think they won't, how many games do you think they will play? I'll start. I find it very, very unlikely that they play 162 games unless they somehow, vaccinate them before the season. I don't think that's likely to happen, although the Major League Baseball does have the money probably to get that done if they really wanted to. I feel like the 6-month, 162 game season is just, it's too long to try and be lucky and, cram in some 7-game doubleheaders. I think they'll probably end up playing over 100 games still. I think they'll probably start, I think they would start late April would be my guess, like early May. And I think they'll probably hack off about 30 games and probably pay about 130, 120 games. Still a pretty decent sized season. I just think that they'll run into some bumps, but they'll try and get in about 120 game season. Sean, what do you think?
I have said last year baseball probably wouldn't even play. They played. I said football wouldn't finish. Football finished. Manfred says they're going to start on time. I have to say they're going to do 162. I think they're just going to power through. You didn't ask me if they should. You asked me what they would do. They're going to just power through, I think. I think they're just going to play a full season. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be a cluster. There's going to be people out left and right. Because, I mean, if you vaccinate the players before the general population, how pissed are people going to be? I had a buddy who's a nurse in Seattle. Shout out to Tim. He said he thought that they were going to be pissed if they got PPE and tests before, places did. And baseball did get those. So I assume that they will get vaccines before some of the population, a good chunk of the population, just because that's how it works. So I think they'll play 162 games.
Kevin?
Yeah, it's kind of a mess too, because okay, so just because I literally get calls every day of people asking where is it at right now? So
you're in the thick of the vaccine right now, Kevin.
So people I don't know why people think that so people forget the United States population is probably around 400 to 500 million people. This is a 2-part vaccine, and you have 2 pharmaceutical companies that are making this thing right now. But people think that they're making it like a batch of fries, and it comes out of the fryer in 3 minutes, and the vaccine's good to go. They're just pumping out French fries left and right. I'm it takes time to to make these. Now they are doing it as fast as they possibly can. And plus 2, I've heard there's things about so the reason why more manufacturer companies can't get this going is because there's Pfizer, for example, has somewhat of a patent on it to where just like Moderna's is a smidge different. They add a little thing to the protein of the virus to where it's not exactly it's pretty much the exact same thing, but they have the stuff to make it from going bad is a smidge different, so to speak. So if they get past that and make them share that with other pharmaceutical companies to mass produce it out faster, then you could probably see it. But I also, as Sean's point, I could see Madford just buying the vaccines from either Pfizer or Moderna to get his players to. But the thing is too, it's like a flu shot to where like once you get it, it doesn't fully prevent it. That doesn't mean you can go lick a toilet seat and you're good, like people have been doing at these COVID parties. Like it's like a flu shot. You can still get the flu after you got it, and also it takes up to 2 weeks to take effect. And once you get it, just if you do get it, but it helps you go through it faster. Your body fights it off faster because we're not going to get into science right now. But so I have a feeling like people are going to get like players will go get their shots and be like, all right, I can go out to the club. I just got my shot. Yeah, let's go party. Mask off. Let's do it. Huh? Oh shit, I have COVID. What? But I got my shot. I got my shot. Type of thing. So I have a feeling that's going to be a mass like crap show. Like there still needs, even if they get vaccinated, they still have to have social distancing and still have the rules. I think the taxi rosters is going to help because we saw last year that it worked for the most part. So just keep the whole social distancing while they do it, even if they get vaccines, still wear masks. Still have the taxi league to where you can pull people up if somebody gets sick because it probably still will happen. It's unlikely to happen once they do get it and they've waited the whole 2 weeks and not done stupid crap. But I think it'll be, you might have maybe a shortened like spring training, but other than that, I think you'll start on time. So, or if not, they'll push it back like 2 weeks and then they'll extend out like they'll have the World Series again in November. So,
and I said last topic, I'm a liar. Let's jump on the news before anyone else does. It brought to my attention that George Springer has signed a deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. So that is an AL West move that, indirectly an AL West move that affects the Mariners here, because George Springer was a big piece of the Houston Astros, and now he is up in Canada. I wonder if they're going to play in Canada this year. That's an entirely different
topic. That's going to be interesting.
So with Springer going to Toronto or Buffalo, wherever they play, that is an interesting move because, I'm just going to throw it to you guys first. How much does this hurt the Astros, at least this year? Sean, what do you think?
It hurts. Anytime you lose a George Springer, it's not good. Now they have some monsters in the minors there for the Astros because that's just how it works, and that's why they're able to let a guy like that walk with. I don't know if they want really Jordan Alvarez to be playing every day, but they have Kyle Tucker. Right now he's projected to be the right fielder, but could he play center field? Yeah. They have some other guys, but yeah, anytime you lose a proven like perennial like legit all-star, there's no equivalent of all-pro in MLB, but like guy who deserves to be an all-star, it's gonna hurt. There's no doubt about it. It's a big deal.
Kevin, how much does this hurt the Astros?
Yeah, like Sean, I don't think they're gonna. I think the Astros are still gonna be very good next year. Don't get me wrong. There'll be games where they're gonna miss that pop that he had, like his solid bat, solid outfield play. Like I'm not saying he's Mike Trout, but he's good. He's very good. So it's hard to replace stuff like that. I like what I see in Kyle Tucker. He's shown some good stuff over the last year. We'll see what happens there. I don't know who are they playing to shift to center if they don't shift Kyle Tucker. So I'm trying to think of their outfield right now.
Oh, it's Miles Straw. It's their.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
He's basically just came up last year. Mixed for 50 games.
So I still think it's going to be a very well-run organization. I still think and we'll get into baseball predictions. I still think they might win the West, but we'll get to that later on. There's still a whole.
I don't know. They got no Verlander again. Like losing Tucker, losing Verlander. The pieces are starting to go away.
We'll see. Like I said, with the A's and then Anaheim and possibly us, I think Texas is still going to be crap, but
the Angels will probably still be crap too.
Yeah.
Poor Mike Trout.
My take, and it's hard because baseball is an interesting sport to like. I mean, does it like take away 5 wins from them? Maybe. You could probably say that. I don't know if that takes them out of first place or anything like that. That is a big deal to lose a guy of that caliber. I do have to say though that Houston has had a rough couple of weeks because James Harden left to go to the Nets, and now Deshaun Watson wants to leave, and now George Springer has left Houston as well. So Houston's not having a great week.
They are not.
But at least they still have Altuve and a bunch of other guys there. So that's
Bregman and
Bregman and all those guys. So I think the loss of Springer does hurt. But overall they still got like you mentioned Bregman, Correa, stuff like that. So they'll be all right.
Losing Cole, Verlander, and Springer, they're adding up though. Like this is not the same team it was a couple of years ago. And Correa's a free agent next year. So,
but last year they went out to prove that sign stealing didn't matter, and for the most part they made the playoffs, made a decent run, and kind of showed that didn't really make that much of a difference.
Run. They weren't 2 games away from the World Series.
Yeah. But
with no Verlander, by the way.
Well, I mean, with the recent history, I imagine that was their expectation all along. So I don't think that's totally shocking to them.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see how much these the hits they keep taking, how much farther they fall, and if they actually do end up dropping below that playoff mark, it could be cause for concern. Now, does this bring them below that? I don't think so. But it starts to add up after a while.
The question is, because the MLB rumors are starting, how many playoff spots do they have? Manfred, are they going to do a universal DH? They haven't decided. Are they going to extend the playoffs? Like if they extend the playoffs, probably not. But with only 4 or 5, it's getting pretty tight because the Blue Jays are looking a lot better. The Rays just went to the World Series.
The Blue Jays just improved themselves. So.
I know, but yeah, they improved and the Rays just went to the World Series and were the best team in the American League all year. There's the Yankees, the Twins, Athletics. The White Sox got a ton better too. So they might miss the playoffs if that's what I'm saying. If it's not extended, with only 5 teams, they might miss it.
And the Mariners, you got to throw them in that conversation, obviously.
No, not the Mariners, not yet. Just hold your horses. Hold your horses. Right. Can I say one thing before we go?
Yeah, go ahead.
We also didn't. Iwakuma is now a consultant for the pitchers for the Mariners. He joined to join the coaching staff. So Iwakuma hanging out the Bear. So yeah.
Maybe that can also continue to help develop player relationships with Japan and bring players over.
If nothing else, we have a reason to have more Bear Hat nights. Let's just do it. Bring it back every year. Bear Hat night.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have on Washington East West Sports. Please feel free to follow us on Twitter. We've mentioned that a bunch of times. Follow us on YouTube. Follow our page on the Eli Network. Gentlemen, we're running out of football topics, so we're going to probably get more into baseball, a little bit of Kraken next week. So we'll probably have a little bit more of a mixed show. We're trying to reduce it down a little bit with the lack of film to an hour, but right now we're currently at an hour 18, so that went out the window. But that is all right. We had plenty to talk about. So anything you want to talk about, let us know. If you want to try and get on the show, we can use some guests now. We're lacking some outside opinions. So let us know what you think. Tweet at us, comment on our YouTube page, and just let us know what you think. And we will see you next time on Washington East to West Sports.